Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to our first September monthly setup for this month. I cannot believe it's September. Like, literally all day, I was like, yeah, August monthly setup. And my brain had to be like, no, no, now is August. We're getting ready for September. I just cannot believe it. I cannot believe Monday is Labor Day. I just feel like the summer, especially, just flew by this year. And I've been hearing the same from so many people. Oh, yay, happy birthday, Dinah. And hello to all of you. I saw a couple people saying hi. Hi, hello, welcome. Is this anybody's first social or maybe your first monthly setup social, maybe your first one in a while? If so, you can just drop a quick like, hey, it's me, that's me here in the chat. Yeah, hey, okay, Judy, awesome. I'm sure there'll be a few others that will comment in a second. Always takes me a minute to like type and like I swear I've been getting my nails done for a couple years now and I still can't type with them. I don't know what it is. Even when they're like super duper short, it doesn't matter. I just continue to have typos. Yay. Okay, great. Yeah, there's a couple of you all here. That's awesome. Welcome. You have picked a great thing to come to, especially for your first social. This is a great way to get started with a lot of things in the journal. But also, I see lots of very familiar names in the chat. Welcome back, everyone. So you're here with a great group of people that have been doing this for some time and who are used to our socials. So as we go through this evening, what you'll see is like you don't have an option to turn your camera on or off. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're muted. It'll just be me up here on the screen. So you can relax, kick back, come in your PJs, get comfy, whatever feels right to you. And I'll be sharing some ideas and tips and tricks on screen, but also people will be sharing in the chat how they usually set up their journals, what they do, and there's all kinds of great things to learn from one another. And that's perfect for our theme this month. So it's awesome that you're here with such a great group of people who can help to give suggestions and guide you as you go through here. It's always a great time here. It's like the best hour and 15 minutes around because we do get an hour and 15 minutes for our monthly setup. So we get a little bit of extra time together, but it still goes by super fast. So I can't remember if I said it before, but for those of you who don't know, my name is Bailey. And I will be your facilitator this evening. I am just north of Nashville, Tennessee, in a town called Hendersonville. So that's where I am dialing in from. If you haven't already, make sure that that little chat box, the little blue box above where you like type in, is set to everyone. Sometimes it will default to host and panelist. And if it does that, not everyone will be able to see what you have to say. So if you're posting and you're not really, getting responses, and you're like, man, there's people, are people ignoring me? Probably not. We have such a fun and friendly group here. You might still be set to host and panelist. So just make sure you have that flipped to everyone. So let's go ahead and go over our community guidelines real quick. So as always, please be kind and courteous to yourself and to others. No promotions or spam, please. We're going to respect everyone's privacy here. And in order to share and be comfortable, we have to have a nice, comfy, safe space. So no hate speech or bullying. And we're going to limit repetitive product and accessory questions. Wow, couldn't say that today. Not because we don't mind, not because we mind you all talking about like pens or stickers. Obviously, like I had the sticker slides up earlier. I love to use the stickers on my setups. But just because our time here is limited and we want you to get the most out of it. And then myself and the amazing Jennifer O are both here tonight. I'll be on camera and then she will be stage managing in the chat. She's already been chatting it up with all of you all. We're here to help as much as we can. But there are some things we can't help with just because we don't have access to it. So if there is something like that that comes up, we'll direct you over to the customer care team at hello@silkandsonder.com and they will get you taken care of. They are a small but mighty team, so give them a day or two to get back to you, but they will. And then finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. And what that really means is that this time is for you. And when we do our socials, sometimes we get into journaling prompts or we get to chatting, we get to sharing and connecting. And sometimes that brings up really positive emotions and feelings. And sometimes it brings up the crunchy feelings, as I like to call them, the things that maybe we're not quite ready to dive into or to tackle. And so if at any point tonight that happens to you, and you need to take a break. You need to just jam out to the music. You need to not do whatever activity we're doing and just wait until we move on to something else. Or if you gotta like jet out, if you got something going on that you gotta go taking care of, or maybe you're just like tired and you're ready for sleep, like that is totally fine. We'll share a link at the end where you can view this recording in a couple of days as well. So you just take care of you and take whatever you need. So our agenda tonight looks like this. We'll be doing our opening activity for our theme. We'll be completing our August reflections, September intentions, and then setting up our mood and habit trackers. So we're going to start here with our new theme, which is knowledge. And I was telling Jennifer at the beginning of the social that when this was our theme, originally I was like, what am I going to say? Because it's knowledge. Like what can you say about knowledge? It's like it seems pretty like clear cut, right? And even in Meha's opening letter on page 2, if you haven't read it, I always highly recommend starting there. It's very, I feel like it was very accessible in the sense that like what she talks about is probably things that we all kind of remember from childhood and this kind of season and going back to school and that sort of thing. She does tell us that she encourages us to reflect on our own relationship with knowledge and ask, what are you naturally curious about? What books, experiences, or ideas have left a lasting mark on you? Has knowledge shaped you in your self-discovery journey? What knowledge do you hold dearly that could inspire others? And then we also have our definition of knowledge on page 3. And I'm glad that we have this definition because as I was sitting here thinking about what do I say about knowledge, today it kind of hit me. There is a lot of change going on at my work currently, and a lot of new knowledge coming in because of that change. And I kind of had a realization that, at least for me, I think sometimes having information feels like we have knowledge, but are they really the same thing? And when we look at our definition here, it says knowledge is a noun. It's facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education, the theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. And I think it's very interesting that that definition says facts, information, and skills, not facts, information, or skills, but all of them together. Because to me, knowledge seems largely positive. There's a lot of quotes and things up on the screen here, and there was no shortage of quotes to pick from because knowledge is something that I think is held really near and dear as a positive thing. And it seems to sit really close to wisdom. I think in some of those quotes, it seems to be almost the same thing, or like you take just one step closer, and then knowledge becomes wisdom in some way. Sometimes it's that experience part that seems to play in, right? But I think information can sometimes be a negative experience. Sometimes we find out something and we didn't want to know. Or it's not the news we were hoping for. It's not the outcome, right? The rumor mill was churning and you were like, no, there's no way that's going to happen. That's silly. And then you learn that that is what's going to happen. And it's not a great experience. And so I think when I think about knowledge, often it's after we know what to do with information that it starts to become knowledge. We kind of make that switch over from that just information to information, facts, and skills, right? I listen to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of the ones I listen to are about random things. Like I listened to a whole podcast episode one time that was all about bats and why bats are really cool and why they're different from a lot of other creatures. And so I have all of this information about bats, but I couldn't actually relay much of it to you or put any of it to any practical knowledge or do any of the cool things that some of the scientists and things out there are trying to figure out with why they basically live forever. It's crazy. So fascinating. I think maybe information is really good for trivia night, but I'm not sure if it's the same thing as knowledge. So yes, Janelle, knowledge is information applied, maybe. I think so. Or I think maybe it is that experience portion that kind of leads us over to, okay, this is a thing that I'm like practicing. I have skills. I know how to like apply this thing. And so therefore I have knowledge. But one thing that I can for sure say about knowledge and information is that both can be shared, but I think that sharing information feels different than sharing knowledge too. When you're sharing knowledge with somebody, I think that you're passing on an ability a lot of the times, more so than just sharing information. So I think that feels different as well. And these are all things to really think about this month as we get to kind of dive into this. And I'm really glad that this thought hit me today because, again, knowledge is a word that I think we're all super comfortable with. But when we get themes like this where we're like, oh, yeah, I know what knowledge is, like, okay, it's really cool to kind of dive in and think, well, do I really know what knowledge is? And what does that mean to me? And how can I lean into that this month, right? Going back to Mayha's letter, like, what are those things that you really enjoy learning about? What are the books you enjoy reading or the TV shows that you're interested in watching? Like, is there a commonality? Is there something that you still enjoy learning? Or that when you hear things about, you're like, ooh, I didn't know that. That's interesting to me. And I encourage all of you to remove any kind of like shoulds or boxes around what you think that should be. And what I mean by that is like sometimes people get really excited about learning about pop culture. And people are like, oh, well, it's just tabloids and it's just celebrities and like who cares? But you know what? Who cares? If you enjoy that stuff, do it. If you enjoy reading all the romance novels you can get your hands on because you love the writing style or just because it's interesting to you or you like being able to talk about that, lean into that. If you like to listen to really random podcasts like me and learn about bats and whatever else comes up, lean into that. Let that sort of like childlike feeling of learning come back to you. And if you're not sure what sparks that for you, try a couple different things this month. And definitely just let yourself see what you can explore and what you can find because we are never too old to stop learning at any point in time in our lives. So, with all that said, let us finish welcoming in our new theme by completing our acrostic poem. And this is in the journal this month, which is really exciting. Sometimes we have to make our own page for this, but this month it is actually pre-printed for us on page 19. And so you can flip to that in your journals. If your journal hasn't come yet, no worries. You can just do this on any piece of paper or a scrap page. But we're going to write out the word knowledge vertically. And then we're going to try to create a poem that starts with a word or a phrase of each one of those letters. So you can start by kind of like thinking about knowledge and what kind of words and things come up for you when you think about that. Or you can just think about the letter K and say, okay, what words start with K? I'm going to start there. You can also decide to do just one word, kind of like what you see here in the center of this example, or you can create an actual poem. You can try to make it rhyme. You can try to just write out what's in your heart, whatever comes to your mind. Sometimes just being really random with these actually turns out really cool. So just don't put any pressure on yourself, right? This is just a fun activity for you to engage with this new theme. Nobody's going to come and grade your acrostic poem, okay? Or look over your shoulder and be like, that's not how I would do that. This is just for you, and it's just a fun exercise. So just let go, have fun, give it a try. You'll probably surprise yourself. This is the one I came up with, and I was just kind of thinking about the changing of the seasons. So I said, kind sunlight, now reducing, onward to autumn's windy embrace, leaning into enchanting memories, dancing in grace and everlasting love. So I'll put on some music for you all to think about your acrostic, and I'll cycle through those slides while you're working. Let us know how your poems are turning out. If you're stuck on a particular letter, let us know. I'm sure people will have suggestions. And yeah, and then we'll come back together and move into our setup. Awesome job spending some time with this activity. I loved seeing all of your poems. If you're still working on yours, no worries. You can always just take whatever you've got so far and come back to it later or work on it while we are working on other things. Again, this time is for you, whatever you need it to be. I saw lots of things centered around growth and expansion and just being curious, which is great because that was a previous theme we had was curiosity. So thank you all so much for engaging with that. We are now going to dive into our monthly setup. And we are going to start with our August reflections. So, kind of taking this time to think about August. Obviously, we still have a few days left here, but thinking back on what's happened so far and kind of taking the opportunity to say, thank you so much, August. It was great. Or thanks so much, but I'm so glad you're over, whichever vibe you had this month. We're going to take some time to reflect on our wins, challenges, favorite moments, and what would we like to start, stop, and continue before we move into September. So this is on page 8 of your journals. And a win is something, that you did, something that made you smile, made you happy, an accomplishment. Challenge is going to be something that obviously maybe didn't go right or that you struggled with, right? If you are with us during our weekly setups, you could always go back and look at your rosebud thorns and kind of reflect on those. I have a hard time remembering what I had for lunch sometimes, like in the same day. So I always look back on my phone and check out my calendar and see what was going on, what kind of appointments I had or plans. I also go back through my photos and things. That kind of helps to jog my memory when I'm reflecting on things. And then when we're thinking about the start, stop, and continue section, this is going to be something you want to maybe start doing in the coming month, something you want to stop doing, and then something you want to continue doing. This could be mindset related to, like maybe you want to focus on self-talk or something specific. If that start, stop, continue kind of breakdown doesn't work well for you, you could also try this I feel X and Y because of A and B, and I want to feel Z sort of formula here. So instead of trying to identify specific actions or things, just focus on how you feel and what is helping you feel that way or what is causing you to feel that way or maybe contributing, right? If it's a positive feeling, maybe you want to do something to continue that. If it's a not so positive feeling, then maybe you want to think about ways to kind of counteract that if you can. And then we've got some negative thinking traps there as well. Maybe some things that you want to stop doing this month, as well as some examples there from the Sonder fam. Whoop, one too far. So I will put on some music for you to think about your reflections. If you have any questions or need some suggestions, let us know. And definitely let us know in the chat what some of these things are for you. I know for me, I spent unfortunately, a large part of the month sick with COVID and then recovering. So my months did not go according to plan, but that's okay. Sometimes that happens. I'm just thankful to be feeling better. So I'll throw on a song for you all, and then we'll come back to our next section of the journal. Thank you for taking some time to reflect on August. Again, I know we still have a couple days. Maybe your favorite moment hasn't happened yet. Maybe it will happen in the next couple days. If it does, you can always go back and add it on this page. And happy anniversary to all of those who are celebrating those. And then happy either belated birthday or almost birthday if it happens the next couple days to any of our August birthday girlies. We are now going to flip on over to the next page for our September intentions. So thinking about what this next month could look like for you, what you want it to look like for you, what do you want to inspire yourself towards, right? You can always think back to our theme of knowledge as you're setting these as well. And we do have these pre-printed categories in the journal, but please feel free to change them if they don't speak to you as we begin to really dive in further into the journal too, just a reminder that this journal is yours. It's not my journal. It's not Mayha's journal, right? Like she started the company, but it's not her journal. This is your journal. So whatever you need this to look like, whatever is going to fit your life for this month, lean into that. It doesn't have to look the same as what you've seen. It doesn't have to look the same as what's in the journal. It doesn't even have to look the same as last month or the month before. Whatever you need this to be for you this month, make it happen. So the pre-printed categories are spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, and professional goals. But in a second, I'll have an example of some different categories that might fit better for you. Again, you can think about that theme of knowledge as you're setting your intentions, right? Is there something you want to learn in each of these categories or in the categories that you set? You can focus on one particular theme, right? You can think back to those start, stop, and continues that we just thought about. Is there a way to incorporate those? You can decide to use like the names or song or lyrics of a song if that kind of speaks to you. Jennifer and Maya did an excellent exclusive social around like learning styles recently. So if you're more of like an auditory learner, maybe those song lyrics will kind of speak to you. Maybe that'll make you think of your intention. Likewise, you could use stickers, pictures, anything like that. Maybe you're like me and you're starting to get into the stickers and having that like tactile feel works really well for you. You could write out how you want to feel this month or one thing you want to do more or less of or something you want to let go of or start doing. I have tried all kinds of different things with the intentions, and I think whatever gets you excited is always a good place to start. So we do have some national months. You know, there's like always national this or that month, and Maya has been so kind to make this slide for us each month now about what the national happenings and goings ons are. So September is the National Month of Self-Care Awareness. Isn't that appropriate for us? I think that's so fun. And then there's some other things in there, super important things like National Suicide Prevention Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, National Square Dance Month. I don't think I've square danced since I was in a gym in middle school, but like, hey, why not? It could be a fun new hobby. Or maybe I'll look into some other dance. I probably won't because I'm really busy this month. But if you have time, maybe that's some inspiration for you. And there in the center are some different things that you might consider changing these to if the pre-printed categories don't necessarily speak to you. Like maybe you're retired, and so maybe you don't necessarily have professional goals anymore. But this month would be a great time to change that to learning goals, right? Or creative goals. Or maybe you have a hobby that you're leaning into, or maybe you do volunteer work in your spare time, right? And maybe there's something that you could focus in to make you kind of be more a part of that and connect into that community. So here are some examples. Like I said, I think one of the best things to do with your intentions is to do whatever gets you excited, whatever is going to let you flip back to that page, either because you like the way it looks or like it helps to ground you in. As we go through, you might consider making yourself a reminder at some point in your journal, maybe flipping to a particular week or day, or maybe even putting it in the habit tracker later to check back on your intentions, because oftentimes we spend a lot of time being really intentional and then the month gets away from us and we don't ever look at it again until the next month comes. But these are some great examples of how to use stickers or other imagery. These are some good examples of that more or less. And don't worry, I'll cycle back through all of these while you're working on your pages. So if there's one in particular that you really like, don't worry, it'll come back. I like this be, like be present, be creative, be healthy, be connected. That's a fun one. I also like just putting a single word sometimes for my intentions or focusing in on like a color. Like if you think about physical health and then you think about a color, is there anything that comes up for you? Well, that sparks something in you when it comes to your goals and intentions, right? And then I also really like this example over on the right-hand side where they only have 3 boxes filled in. And I love this because just because there are 6 boxes does not mean that you have to fill in all 6. If you just want to focus on 3 very specific areas, then that's what you should do. If you need to change those categories, that's what you should do. If you need to change all of the categories to be one intention and you want to focus on one category with like 6 action items or 6 things that are going to help you get through a season, do that. Again, whatever this needs to be, that's what we want it to be for you. My intentions are on the left, and they're just quotes that kind of spoke to me for these different categories. They're actually the exact same quotes that I had last month. And it's because I really liked those quotes. They like really spoke to me. I felt like they were really fitting for what I wanted for my intentions. And then I felt like because I got sick, I didn't really get to do any of them. Like August just did not go according to plan for me. And again, that's okay, but I'm not going to let go of that. Those intentions really resonated with me. And so I'm going to go back to those. And then in the center, we also have these intentions switched up as affirmations, which is super fun. This is from the Silk and Sonder Instagram page. I think that these can also be really good moments of inspiration when setting intentions, looking at what is in for September and what is out, right? Like what's in is decluttering your space and what's out is avoiding doing chores. Maybe thinking a little bit about that more and less again. And then bad habits to cut out before the fall. So like maybe for physical health, you want to stop the bad habit of not getting enough sleep. So maybe your intention is to set some sort of a bedtime routine, right? Or journaling before bed or no phone after a certain time, whatever it is that's going to help you kind of break that bad habit. I know that that is a bad habit for me right now. So I will cycle back through all of these examples for you and throw on a fun song, of course, and then we'll move into our next section. Thank you for thinking about your intentions for the upcoming month. If you're still making decisions, that is totally okay. We are now going to flip over to our trackers. When I was getting started with Slip and Sonder, these were honestly some of my favorite pages in the journal. They were really the thing that kind of kept me coming back month after month because I was struggling really deeply with my anxiety and I was trying to implement habits and also track the way that those habits were having an effect on me, to really try to do things that would hopefully help me better manage that anxiety. So this was super powerful for me in the beginning, and it can be used for all kinds of things. So we're going to start with that mood tracker, and that's going to be on page 10 of your journal. So go ahead and flip on over there. So, a mood tracker can help us understand trends and how we're feeling, and hopefully that allows us to notice what's working and what's not, and then make changes as needed or lean more into those things that are working for us. So, hopefully, we can bring in those positive moods more often. Now, the mood tracker has two versions. There is a version with like the hexagon shape, which is what we have this month, and then there's a version that's more like a wheel. The months that have odd numbers will be the wheel, and the months that have even numbers of days will be the hexagons. And we definitely have like a team hexagon, team wheel that happens at Silk and Sonder. Everybody is kind of like leans one way or the other. I don't know if I have a preference. I think I like the shapes of the hexagons more, but I seem to like use the wheel a little bit better. I think maybe because there's a little bit more room. I don't know. I see Team Hexagon in the chat already. So if you're just getting started, maybe you'll be like me and you will, oh, look, Team Wheel. If you're just getting started and you're like me, you may not have a preference, or you may find that one really works better for you or that you enjoy one more than the other. But both versions allow you to track whatever it is that you may want to track. And I say that because tracking moods can be very powerful and very beneficial, but also this is an entire page in your journal. And so that takes up a lot of real estate, as I like to say. So this gets repurposed a lot. And if you feel like that is going to what's work best for you, then you should repurpose it. And we'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's talk about how to set this up as a mood tracker if that is what you decide to do. So you could choose to kind of focus on 2 to 3 tough feelings, maybe like one neutral and 2 to 3 positive, just to kind of give yourself some variety when you're thinking about moods and things. You can focus on that theme of knowledge for this month if that brings up any particular feelings for you. I think it was Nathania that said earlier they were going to try to list out as many feelings as they could. So, like, really getting curious there and falling back on one of the intentions that they'd set there. And then you could fill in every emotion that comes up that day. Nathaniel says, yes, that was her. Or you could just fill in whatever emotion was the strongest. I know that Maya made a habit of like tracking when she took a certain medication or supplement, I think, so that way she was kind of tracking at the same time each day. So you could maybe think about that. And you can use stickers, color pins, doodles, or just a single pin by itself to track whatever works best for you. Some ideas from the Sonder fam that have come up in previous chats were that at the end of the month, Katrina likes to count up each feeling and then write the number of times they felt that way. It's a good tracking technique. And then Katie had shared that they treat this like the movie Inside Out, where their bubbles get complex and have different shades throughout the day. So that's kind of fun as well. And I think I have Katie's example as well. Yes. Okay, good. Katie, it's yours. So I think I have your example in here too. So this is a feelings wheel, which has lots and lots of feelings there. So if you're like Nathania and you're getting really curious and wanting to get really specific about your feelings this month, this can be some really good inspiration. But you also do not have to pick anything super specific. You could just go with these 6 main categories of emotions here if that's easier for you. So I've got some examples as always. Both of these are beautiful and they are like the wheel style. And both of these folks were tracking, I think, all of the things that they felt each day and coloring in like more how often they felt. But I really like the one on the left because I remember when it was posted in Sonder Club, they specifically talked about the 30th, and you can see that they were really anxious that day and they were talking about how that was a really bad day for them. But then they were looking at their wheel and they saw that, oh, actually, this is actually the only day this month that I have like had this much anxiety. So even though it feels like today is really bad, and in that moment I feel like, oh my gosh, it's all happening again, I can look at my wheel here and see that actually it's just today that's a bad day. And overall, I've had a really positive month. So that was a really cool story. And then over on the right, they were tracking their different moods, but they also made notes about what maybe impacted that. So if they did have a rough day, they maybe made a note about what might have contributed to that. Or if they had a positive day, they made a note about something they thought might have contributed to that. So I thought that was also really cool. Katie, I think this is yours on the left. Correct me if I'm wrong. With the different bubbles, like the inside out, where like it grows throughout the day, the more often that you feel the emotion and stuff. So I think that's a great tactic. And then we've got some stickers here where you can just assign a sticker to a particular feeling and then track that way. And you can see that this person actually added stickers so that they had like more things to track. So if you need to add categories, you can. If you only want to track a few things, you can. You do not have to fill in every single spot just because there is a spot. And if you need more spots, you can create more spots. So we've got some hexagons here. We've got folks tracking different emotions there with the stickers, but also there in the center, you've got actually 12 different kind of feelings there because they just split the hexagon in half, which I thought was really creative. And then they also are using dots to kind of track energy. So there's all kinds of ways that you can really use this and make it your own. So some of the ways that people repurpose this is they'll use it as a daily affirmation tracker, or they'll use it to track anxiety levels, which is something I did for a very long time. Or you could use it to track something different like depression or energy. If you have any kind of health related thing that you're dealing with, that kind of data and that kind of tracking can be so helpful when you go into those doctor's appointments because they always ask you questions like you are tracking it. So thankfully you actually have a page in your journal where you could track it if you have something like that going on that you need to be more mindful of. I know at one point I was struggling really bad with acid reflux, and so I was tracking that. So that was also helpful. Or you could just focus on one particular feeling. You know, if you're feeling like, I just feel like I've been really mad lately, everything is really getting under my skin, then maybe you want to focus on that anger feeling and try to track how often you're feeling irritated and how much each day. So this is an example of the anxiety levels. This is actually an old one of mine. So I just picked my different levels and then had little faces that went along with them. And then Kimberly, this may be yours with the stress tracker. And I really loved how the tracker kind of ties into physical sensations because that is like really, yeah, Kimberly says it is. It's super important and it's super telling. And it also is helping to really kind of connect that mind body connection, right? So often, if you haven't been to therapy, the therapist will tell you like we have to connect that mind and body. You have to feel your feelings, not just mentally, but you also have to feel them in your body. So that is crucial to kind of make that connection. So thank you for sharing. And then I love the snow spin tracker. I think it is so creative and it's such a good idea. One of these days I'm going to be brave enough to actually do it. There's workout tracker, self-care tracker. Remember, it's like National Self-Care Awareness Month. So that might be fun to do this month and lean into that. I also like this rate the day, where you just rate the day on a scale of 1 to 6. How great or not so great was the day? That's like a nice, easy, approachable thing. We've got a book tracker, this mood boost tracker, which is super cool. And then just some more examples. We've got an organizer tracker, an exercise tracker, and then like unpleasant versus pleasant on high or low energies going on there. So these are mine. You can see last month's, you can see all the little things where I said I was sick and I didn't track, and that's okay. But I really liked this tracker. I've done it before and I didn't really get to use it a lot this past month. So that's what I'm going to do again this month. Oop, one too far again. So I'll throw on some music and I will cycle through all of these fun examples for you all. Definitely let us know in the chat how you are deciding to set this up or what you are tracking. And then we will move into our habit tracker together. Hopefully, you figured out how you want to best use this page for you. We are now going to hop on over to the very next page, which is going to be our habit tracker. So, thinking about everything that you've done so far this evening, right? We have reflected on last month. We have thought about our intentions for the upcoming month. You have decided what you want to track on that mood tracker. Now it's time to think about what kind of actions you want to take or what kind of actions you want to track might be a better way to think about it when we're looking at this habit tracker. Because this can help us start new habits, stop doing things that don't actually serve us, especially if we're noticing that it's not having the impact we expect with that mood tracker, and then continue habits that bring value. So again, you can lean into that theme of knowledge. Maybe you want to learn something every day as a habit this month, or listen to a podcast, or read a book, whatever it is that sparks that feeling of joy and learning we talked about earlier. If it's not knowledge, you could pick another theme to center around. You can continue habits from last month if they're working well for you, or if you're not done tracking them and figuring out whatever it is that you need to learn. Try to find a balance between habits you know you can do and ones that might be a little bit trickier. You don't want to like overload yourself. And in that same sort of vein of thinking, just because there is a line there does not mean it has to be filled in. You could track just one single habit if that's what you needed to do this month, or just three, whatever is going to work well for you. You can track using various colors. You can just do a single pen. These are obviously very fun and beautiful. But there's nothing wrong with just using a sticker or a simple dot. The person on the far right decided to assign a number of how well they did their habit. So one meant that they didn't do it super well. So like looking at water, maybe they didn't drink a lot of water that day, versus like the higher the number, the better they did on the habit. These are mine, and I love using the stickers. I love the way that they feel, but I don't like getting all of my stuff out every single day. I take my journal with me to work, and so I don't always take all of my supplies with me. So I usually will just track with a single dot on a pen, and then once a week I get to go in and add all of my stickers, and that's kind of my me time, and it makes me super happy. And then Brenda, this is your tip on the screen there. Had shared before. Brenda always tracks the same habits, so that way she can use it for more accountability. Like one of them is checking in with her daughter. And then Georgie had shared that they always set 3 daily goals and then 2 bonuses, so that way they don't stress as much if they don't get them done. Lots of folks will block out weekends or holidays, or, if you work a non-traditional schedule where, maybe you don't have weekends off, but you have a different off day, they'll track that to see how their habits change on their off days versus not, or vacation and vice versa. And then in terms of different habits to track, think about what you want to know, like what are you curious about? But also think about what's going to help you. Like, is there something that's going to help you remember to do things that you need to do every day? Like take your medications like I have, or, vitamin like Sharon had said. And then Kimberly, I think this is yours again. I love the celebration tracker, kind of flipping the script on like a physical tracker, but switching up kind of the mindset around it by saying they're going to celebrate their body when they do X, Y, and Z. And then these colorful triangles are super fun. We also have a junk food tracker, so you could focus in on really anything specific with this. And then when you're thinking about setting a monthly habit, you want it to be something you kind of want to pull data on or track every single day. But you also can add in some flexibility. So you could say, I'm going to have a weekly habit as a part of my monthly, and then I can switch that up in the weekly spread as things go on. You could say, I want to do my mind body health plan, which is also in the weekly spread. Again, kind of just incorporating other parts of the journal. And then these are some good things for inspiration on setting boundaries, or maybe you want to add in some fun fall activities into your habits this month. And then just some more inspiration if you need it. So I'll throw on a quick song, and then we will close out our time together. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining us, and hopefully you feel set up for September. We would love to see your pages in Sonder Club if you feel comfortable sharing them. You saw that we had lots of our Sonder fam examples here with us tonight in the chat. Their examples were up on the screen and they were here. So that could be your examples if you feel up to sharing them. We always love to pull those out of Sonder Club. And then if you haven't heard, Jennifer will drop a link about this in the chat. But Silk and Sonder does have a personalized life coach beta happening right now. If you're interested in learning more, Jennifer will put that link where you can learn more about that there. I've been using it and it has been really, really cool and very insightful. So if you're able to take advantage, please do. As always, we're doing our Refer a Friend program. If you refer somebody, they get $10 off and you get $10 off, and then you could come to socials together and have fun. If you're able to upgrade to an annual subscription and you're not already an annual subscriber, that could save you some money. You do have to pay the full amount up front, so just think about that. But obviously, holidays are really just around the corner, if you can believe it. So maybe think about that for some different wish lists and things. Also, please fill out the feedback survey either right now with what's on the screen or with what Jennifer drops in the chat, or you'll get an email with the survey in the next 24 hours. Definitely let us know how you enjoyed this event, if there's anything you would like us to do differently, what you especially enjoyed so we could do more of it. And then Jennifer will also share the YouTube link in the chat where this social, along with all of our other ones, except for the exclusives, can be found and recorded. It'll take a couple days for those to show up, but they will be there. So if you ever need to go back and listen to something, it is there for you. There are so many socials on there. And then I will also share my playlist in the chat with you all. It is just on Spotify there. All of my playlists are searchable, and then lots of them have been thrown into my master list. It's crazy. You can see there's like almost 20 hours worth of songs on there. So you could literally social for like a marathon if you wanted to. But it was my pleasure being here. I know it was Jennifer's pleasure as well. We hope that you all have a wonderful evening. And until next time, be good to each other, and we'll see you all in Sonder Club.
Never seen the sun before, lying on the ocean floor. I'm walking through the wilderness and living off the loneliness of wild blue, deeper than I ever knew. Wild blue on a bed of gray. Oh baby, what a wild blue I found myself when I lost you.